What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about how science can help you in dating. And I have one of my favorite books on dating advice, probably the number one best book on dating, Mate, here with me. And I want to talk about one specific chapter in this book. It's called Signaling. Now, in this chapter, the author uses a lot of science and references to natural selection and evolution and animals to show how, just like humans, we both use signaling to our benefit, and therefore understanding it, we can better improve our chances with dating. Now, it's not as simple as it seems. It's not as easy as, oh, that just means you signal that you're wealthy or signal that you're caring. It goes deeper than that, and the reason is because the world is more complicated than that. People can lie about what they truly are like. They can signal things that are not how they truly are. And this happens all the time in the animal kingdom. People will signal, or animals or insects will signal things that may or may not be true about their genetics, about their physiology, and this can lead to poor offspring. And so it's very important to realize that, first off, it's not the individual animal who makes up his mind to do this or that. It's a generation by generation process of where the ones who screwed up die out, whereas the ones who succeeded in producing healthy offspring by choosing the right mates, they brought those specific tendencies down to the latter generation. Now, this may seem to get overcomplicated, so let's just simplify it and give you a few examples in the animal kingdom. So, butterflies, they have grown a tendency to have very colorful wings, and oftentimes these wings are specifically made to look like the eyes of a large animal, and this is used to scare away large predators that might eat these butterflies. Also, a lot of snakes have over many years evolved very colorful shapes on their skin and scales, and this is to scare away predators and or show that they are poisonous. So both of these things are incredible because these have been adapted over the years. The snakes and butterflies who did not have these things or a tendency towards them were more often eaten. And so because this became more and more important, over many generations, these evolved more and more. Now, the problem with this is in the mating game, animals will use these signals and things that they develop, whether it's a stronger beak, a longer beak, longer, stronger, bigger wings, whatever it is, to show that they are the superior, genetic mate for survival and reproduction, and therefore will produce better, more viable offspring. And what has also happened, unfortunately, is that a lot of these competing animals have, rather than choosing to compete directly with these people based off simply, the same things, because they can't. Like, that guy has a bigger beak. That's the end of the story. They have found a different niche to go about it. So a lot of these same animals have developed deceptive tactics. So they will have fake large beaks, or they will just have some type of fake body part or fake thing that doesn't necessarily mean that it is what it's signaling it has. So one great example is a lot of the snakes that are not poisonous but look just like the poisonous snakes. You think they do that on, by accident? No, it's a very purposeful tactic in order to stay alive for themselves. And in certain ways, it is, not really as bad as it seems, because technically you are genetically superior in a different way. You may not have that poison, but the energy you conserve by not having to produce that poison on a consistent basis, you can use to survive more. Plus, you look like a snake that's poisonous, so people will just assume that you are one. So in certain ways, you are doing better. And so it can get fairly complicated in terms of biology. And it's very eerie because I see a lot of similarities between that and different models in the world, between humans in terms of dating, as well as in terms of business models. Like literally different companies, especially small businesses, they will carve out different niches based on similar tactics, which is kind of eerie. Not exactly the same thing though. So the book Mate in this chapter, what it's trying to say is that, if you're a human, you can't just tell someone, oh, I'm attractive, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because people will lie, people will be deceptive, and they can lie about their signaling. You can say, oh yeah, I'm trustworthy, I'm honest, I am a great husband, I'll care for your child, and in reality, you're a complete homewrecker. And therefore, they can't just trust your words. So you have to prove this in more authentic, long-term ways. There's a lot of different ways listed in the book on how to do so. The point, though, is that women and males as well, they have evolved over the years by necessity ways that are very complex and sometimes very accurate, that are almost intuitive. Like it's not like they're consciously doing it. It's all like at an instant. They have a better sense of being able to tell whether you're lying and so forth. And they've evolved this over the years because basically natural selection, the ones who were duped oftentimes failed. They got horrible offspring, and therefore, these offspring did not pass on the traits that made them more easily duped. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling cycle constantly. So it's very interesting how the world works. It's very complicated and yet interesting place. But, when I read this book, this isn't coming from the book, this is my personal opinion. When I read this thing, I was like, on top of that though, it's also important to realize that in modern society, our genetic system is far from perfect. Like, how many cases have you heard of women marrying horrible guys who beat them or treat them horribly and they'll stick around? Or they will marry a guy who has nothing going for them and screw their lives over. Or they're so easily tricked or so easy to trust certain things about a guy who says that, oh, I'll take care of you, oh, I have all this money, when they don't have any of these things. And it happens all the time. I hear all these stories constantly about divorce, about, girls going after bad guys and so forth. And so it's a imperfect system. However, the point of the book, and I think I very much like this because in business and dating, the message behind the book is for the best optimal success, you want to be honest and ethical and deserve what you're trying to get, rather than being deceptive and trick people. And this, in the long term, will work better for both parties. It's a win-win situation. There's no crap. There's no trickery. There's no manipulation. And even if you were to do it that way, you'd probably be found out eventually, and it's a complete mess. So I just like that whole organic type tone to the book, and I think it's very true. And I think the biggest, there's a lot of great insights, but for a lot of the guys out there who are nerds or just really suck with women, I think it's a message of hope, because a lot of the book is devoted to showing you that there are plenty of aspects to improving yourself on top of the things that are most obvious that you can improve. Accumulating wealth, which is one thing. Another thing is your health, your hygiene, your style, your fashion, your wardrobe, your physique. All these things can be improved as well. But in addition to these two obvious things, looks and money, which, arguably are kind of superficial in my opinion. So for me personally, I mean, it's good to improve that, but it's great that there's so many other things. And so the book also goes into a lot of other things. There's this concept called tender to defender in the book, which is a certain type of uh, provider and husband that is very attractive for women if you're seeking something long term, and a number of other things: conscientiousness, willpower, social proof, and so forth. And as far as critiques for this book goes, I do think overall it's a great book. I don't think it emphasizes enough a lot of the other things that you can do, and I'm scared that maybe some people who read the book will just look at it and say, "Oh, it's not worth my time," or um, they'll just assume, "Okay, there's not much substance in here other than looks and money," which is far from the truth. Um, but I just think that just how it's displayed in terms of the table of contents is not exactly ideal. But regardless, though, I think it's a great book, and I hope you guys check it out yourself. I'll leave links in the description to all this stuff, and thank you so much for watching. See you later.